everyone. Welcome to Current Affairs for Beginners. Before starting our today's session, first let us see answers for the questions from our yesterday's video. In which of the following situations the prompt corrective action framework is invoked on banks? If the net non-performing assets ratio of a bank exceed by 12%, then PCA will be invoked. This statement is correct. And if the bank's net return on assets, which means the profit, is negative for 4 consecutive years, then also this PCA will be invoked on banks. So as both the statements are correct here, the answer is C. The next question is 1267 United Nations Sanctions Committee is related to. The answer is counter-terrorism. Now let's start our today's session. Our first article is half measures. This article comes under GS paper 3 under the topic of economy. From this article, now we are going to see what are the startups and what is this angel tax and what are the new changes that were brought regarding this issue. First, we know what is meant by a startup. As per the layman, startup means any new business or venture that has been set up is considered as a startup. But according to the Government of India, a particular company will be certified as a startup if it follows 3 conditions. The first condition is the company should be registered under any one of the 3 acts. Those 3 acts were Companies Act of 2013, Partnership Act of 1932, and the other one is Limited Liabilities Partnership Act of 2008. So the company should be registered under any one of these 3 acts. And the next condition is from the date of registration, not more than 7 years should be passed. That means now in 2019 I want to get my company registered as startup. And I have started my company in 2014. This is the date when I have got registered my company. So what is the time? It is 5 years only. So my company will be certified as a startup. If I have registered my company in 2010 and if I ask my company to be certified as startup in 2019, it is not possible according to the Government of India because the gap is 9 years. But now according to the new rules, this 7 years was extended to 10 years. So from the date of registration, not more than 10 years should be passed. The third condition is from the date of registration, in none of the years the total sales or turnover of that company should not have crossed 25 crores. The total sales or turnover of the company should not have crossed this 25 crores from the date of registration. And even this has got changed. Now it is increased to 100 crores. So what is the importance of these startups? These startups will create employment opportunities and they are technologically intensive. They create capital and they bring in technological advancements. From 2014 till 2019, more than 50,000 startups were established in India. This is why India is considered as the 3rd largest startup ecosystem in the world. Now, let us go to the next concept known as angel tax. Before knowing about the angel tax, first we should know who are these angel investors and what are these angel funds. For example, there is Mr. A who wants to start a new venture. He just passed out from his graduation. He has a new idea and he wants to start a business. But he doesn't have a capital. He approached a bank and bank said that, see, I couldn't understand your model and your business model is a bit risky. I can't invest in your business. So in this scenario, who will invest by believing in the idea of Mr. A and his business capital? It is the angel investors, the people who invest on the idea and capability of the founder's company. They provide initial capital or funding and they can be friends, family, relatives, someone. These are the angel investors, and the funds they provide, which is the initial capital or funding to this risky models, is known as angel fund. These angel funds are regulated by Securities Exchange Board of India. Now, what is this angel tax then? According to the Income Tax Act, Section 56, Clause 2, this angel tax is being imposed. The objective for imposing this angel tax is to prevent money laundering. We have seen what is money laundering so many times. It is nothing but converting the black money into legal money. For example, there is a person called Mr. Y. He has lots of black money, and now we had our Mr. A who has this new idea, but he doesn't have any capital. Then there is a possibility of this Mr. Y who is having black money to invest in Mr. A's business by converting it into illegal money. So, in order to avoid or to prevent these kind of money laundering, this angel tax is being imposed from 2012. So now, how this angel tax will be calculated? First of all, for anybody to invest in Mr. A's business, they should know the value of Mr. A's venture. Nobody will invest just for the sake. They expect something in return. For example, if I invest some amount, I want something in return from this business. So how will I know what is the value of my investment on Mr. A's venture? It depends on valuation and fair market value. Valuation means I am valuating the Mr. A's company, and fair market value is a value in the market for Mr. A's business model. This will be done based on three methods. Valuation will be done based on three methods. One is discounted cash flow, which means by considering the future cash inflows into Mr. A's venture, I will decide the value, what could be the market value of this company. The next method is net asset value. This is nothing but the difference of liabilities and assets. And the other one is subjective methodology. See, we know, let us take some brands like Fast Track, Timex, Rolex, all these. Based on the brand, people will invest. Just by saying that this is a branded product, this is worth enough, and this has value in the market, and there is demand for these products. By considering these things, that means we are speculating. There is huge demand for this product and the supply is also good, and based on the founder and the capability of the founder, we will invest on it. This is known as subjective methodology. Then also we will decide that what could be the value of this particular startup. But in India, our tax officials were considering the net asset value methodology to determine the fair market value of Mr. A's venture. So now, there is Mr. X who wants to invest in Mr. A's venture. And he did some valuation, he used some methodology, and he thought that the value of Mr. A's venture could be 1 crore rupees. And he invested 50 lakh rupees expecting 50% shares in Mr. A's venture. Now, our tax officials, they used this net asset value methodology, and they found that the value of Mr. A's venture is not 1 crore, it is only 50 lakh rupees. So, in order to attain 50% shares from Mr. A's venture, we should only invest 25 lakh rupees. So, the tax officials will say, Mr. X, that you could have invested only 25 lakh rupees. And it will also say, Mr. A, that you could have got only 25 lakh rupees for giving 50% shares, but you have taken 50 lakh, that is 25 lakh extra money. So, now, this 25 lakh rupee will be considered as other income, and for this 25 lakhs, you pay the tax, which is known as angel tax, and that tax will be imposed at 30.9% interest rate. So this is known as the angel tax. So now, what are the new rules? Is this angel tax imposed on all the startups? No. We have seen 3 conditions for a startup to be certified as a startup. For a company to be certified as a startup, it should satisfy 3 conditions. If a company satisfies these 3 conditions, then it is exempted from this angel tax. And the other condition is Mr. A shouldn't raise funds of worth 10 crore rupees from the angel investors. It shouldn't be more than 10 crore, but the new rules has changed it to 25 crore rupees. And the angel investors net worth should be less than 2 crore rupee, and in the preceding year he should have filed 50 lakh worth tax returns. In these conditions, angel tax is exempted. And when it comes to the investors who belong to a listed company, then if that investor's net worth is 100 crore and their turnover is less than 250 crore, then also they are exempted from angel tax. And the new change is that whatever angel funds that are received by the startups, that is for example are Mr. A, he shouldn't use these angel funds to invest on 10 lakh rupees worth transport vehicles, real estate, jewelry, all this. He shouldn't invest the angel funds in these kind of things. And the startups, whoever is eligible and who wants to get exempted from this angel tax, they can apply to the Department for Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade to get exempted from this angel tax. The next article is "Will try to pass on rate cuts." This article comes under GS paper 3 under the topic of economy. From this article, here there is a concept known as monetary transmission, and the other concept is marginal cost of fund based lending rate. We'll see what are these two. First of all, what is meant by this monetary transmission? We know what is meant by repo rate. Let us see what it is first. It is the rate at which RBI will lend to the banks for short term by taking government bonds or a security. And this particular interest rate is known as repo rate. The present repo rate is 6.25%. If this repo rate is decreased, then banks can borrow more from RBI and they will lend to their customers at much reduced rates. Then what will happen? People will borrow more and they will invest more, which will create some employment opportunities, and there will be money supply in the economy, which will lead to inflation. Whereas if RBI increases this repo rate, banks will borrow less amount from RBI, but they have to lend their customers at higher interest rates, for which the customers will not show much interest to borrow and they will invest less. The money supply will decrease in the economy, ultimately leading to controlling of inflation. So in order to control inflation, RBI will increase this repo rate. So now, what is meant by this monetary transmission? Here, by decreasing the repo rate, it is benefiting the bank. RBI has decreased the repo rate, by which banks were able to borrow more at lower interest rate. This is a benefit to the bank, but this bank should pass on these benefits which it had acquired to its customers. If it does so, then it is called as monetary transmission. The next concept is known as MCLR, marginal cost of fund based lending rate. This is the rate below which the banks cannot lend to their customers. Below this rate, no bank should lend to its customers. But in exceptional cases, if RBI authorizes, they can lend below even this marginal cost of funds based lending rate. So now how it is related to this repo rate? This MCLR will keep changing if repo rate changes. The next article is most MPC members see inflation softening. This article comes under GS paper 3 under the topic of economy. What is this MPC? It is the Monetary Policy Committee. In the previous article, we have seen about repo rate. Who decides this repo rate? It is this Monetary Policy Committee. Before this Monetary Policy Committee, it is the governor who, along with a technical advisory board, used to decide this repo rate. But now, based on the recommendations of Urjit Patel Committee, this Monetary Policy Committee was established. This Monetary Policy Committee is responsible for deciding the benchmark interest rates, which is nothing but the repo rate. This Monetary Policy Committee comprises of 6 members, out of which 3 are from the Reserve Bank of India and the other 3 are appointed by the government. These committee members will take decisions based on voting. In case of a tie, if they get 3:3 votes, then the governor of RBI will have the casting vote. Here, his decision will prevail in case of a tie. The next article is Assam Rifles granted power to arrest anyone in the northeast. This article comes under GS paper 3 under the topic of internal security. From this article, we should know about a concept known as Armed Forces Special Powers Act. What is this legislation all about? Armed Forces Special Powers Act. This act came into force when there is increasing violence in the northeastern states decades ago, when the state governments found it very difficult to control these violence. Then the AFSPA bill was passed by both the houses of parliament and it was approved by the president in 1958, and it has become to be known as Armed Forces Special Powers Act of 1958. What does it mean? In simple terms, this AFSPA, this act will give armed forces the power to maintain public order in disturbed areas. What is this disturbed area then? A disturbed area is one which is declared by the notification under Section 3 of the AFSPA Act. An area can be considered as a disturbed area if there are any differences or disputes between the members of different religions, racial, language or regional groups or castes or communities. Who can declare an area as a disturbed area? It is the central government or the governor of the state or the administrator of the union territory can declare either the whole state or part of the state or union territory as a disturbed area. And once it is declared as a disturbed area, this AFSPA Act will be invoked. What will happen? If this is invoked, this act will give the armed forces the special power to maintain public order here. They will have the authority even to prohibit the gathering or assembly of 5 or more persons in an area. They can use force or they can even open fire after giving due warning if they feel a person is in contravention of the law. And if they get any suspicion, then the army can also arrest a person without a warrant. They can even search their premises without warrant and ban the possession of firearms. And any person that is taken into custody or if he is arrested, that person will be handed over to the officer, whoever is in charge of the nearest police station, along with a report detailing all the circumstances that led to this arrest. Now, as per this article, due to the unrest in the northeast, the union government has empowered Assam Rifles to arrest anyone and search a place without warrant in the states of Assam, Arunachal Pradesh, Manipur, Nagaland and Mizoram states. The next article is deadlier version of Brahmos to be tested in 3 years. This article comes under GS paper 3 under the topic of science and technology. From this article here we should know about this Brahmos missile. It is a supersonic cruise missile. It is designed and developed by Brahmos Aerospace, a joint venture of both India and Russia. This has derived its name from the names of 2 rivers. Indian river Brahmaputra and Russia's Moska river. This operates on the principle of fire and forget, and it is capable of being launched from land, sea, subsea and air against both sea and land targets. The carrying capacity of this Brahmos missile is 300 kgs, both conventional weapons and nuclear weapons. It can carry both. And the maximum range of this is 300 kilometers. And it is a two-stage missile with a solid propellant booster engine at its first stage, which will bring it to the supersonic speed, and then it gets separated. The liquid ramjet or the second stage will take the missile closer to 3 Mach speed in cruise phase. Some other specifications about this Brahmos missile were detailedly mentioned in our core video notes. Please do refer to them. Now let's see our today's prelims questions. The first one is marginal cost of lending rate refers to. And the next one is which of the following statements is or correct regarding the Monetary Policy Committee. Try to answer these questions. In our tomorrow's video, we'll see answer for these questions. This is our Lloyds Loans website where you can access the notes for this video. Thank you.